Hello, hello everybody, and on what day are we today? 14th.
14th.
Tuesday the 14th of December. Sorry for cancelling last week's seminar. I was a little bit ill, but we're back now, better. But if I happen to cough or splutter through tonight, please excuse me. Still got a bit of a cough. So tonight's seminar is entitled Building Instruments Part 1, MIDI and AU Instruments. So I think this is following on again from a lot of the bel canto seminars that we'll be doing, looking more about how you can customize your setups and whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
It is, yeah, exactly
good.
right.
So as per usual, any questions you have, if they're a bit off topic, save them to the end. And we'll come back to them then. But if you have anything that you want answered as we're going along, or we're going too fast, or anything like that, do put them into the Justin TV chat. Sorry again also for the late notice of tonight's seminar. We realised that Dave is actually not here on Thursday, so that's why we're doing it tonight. Also, should probably just say this is also the last seminar before Christmas, as next Thursday is my birthday. And sorry, but I'm not doing a web seminar on my birthday. I'm going to be in the pub. Yeah, so this will be the last seminar of the year, which is quite sad. But anyway, so I think that's everything for the moment. So Dave's going to be doing it on the Eigenharp Alpha today. You're using the latest release?
No, I'm not.
Oh, no, you're not?
I'm just using 1.1.24.
1.1.
But it should work, unless there's some strange bug we haven't found, it should work on anything.
Okay, cool. As per usual, Dave, you can see Dave's screen down here, which you'll be able to see what Dave's doing. It will get bigger as well. If anything Dave does, I'll make it bigger so you can see in a bit more detail. Cool. Off you go, Dave.
Okay. So today I was going to show you, how to build instrument rigs. So I don't know if we've briefly mentioned rigs before. So rigs are, I use the word instrument and rig kind of as the same kind of thing, but inside Eigen you can, so every instrument, when I'm talking about instrument now, I mean like the samplers or the audio unit instruments or the cello or the clarinet, or the MIDI outputs, they're all, we kind of call them instruments or rigs, and what they are a collection of a few agents to make up that one instrument. So the sampler, although the cello, for example, has the cello oscillator in it, and it has a recorder, it has a scaler which takes the information from the keys and applies a scale to it. So and it has there's various, depending on the type of instrument, there's various things inside. So we have this thing called rigs, and a rig is like a kind of a wrapper or a container for all these different agents that make up an instrument, and it's useful to have rigs because there's so many. For example, a scaler is a really common agent inside Eigen, and I reckon, well, there's 11 instruments. There must be at least 11 scalars inside Eigen, and so you don't have to remember the number because they're all called scalar 1, 2, 3, 4. So you don't have to remember the number. You can collect all the agents for a particular instrument inside a rig. And then, so you call the rig, for example, for sampler 1, the rig is called sampler 1. So that means instead of having to say scalar whatever, I can say sampler 1 scalar. So we've got this rig thing that we're going to look at. And then I'm just going to talk you through how to build the simplest of the instruments. So the simplest one is probably the audio unit instruments, because that's just got a recorder, a scaler, and an audio unit kind of agent. They're the three agents you definitely need inside a rig. So I'm going to start with that, and just like the talker seminar last time, I'm just going to build one and kind of talk through it as I do it. There's a few little fiddly bits with these things, so we're just going to have to deal with them as we go along. There's a few things that you need to remember, but I'll try and talk everything through as I'm doing it. So first of all, we open the Eigen Commander. So I'm using release 1.1.24. I go to the Tools menu and I click on Run Eigen Commander. And here we have the Eigen Commander So you're all pretty used to this now. So what the first thing? So the first thing we do, I'm going to create an audio unit instrument to start with. So that's just going to so eventually you guys now hopefully know about key groups, know about talkers. There's various things we've done in bel canto. I think like one of the remaining things to kind of learn about, I reckon, is building instruments, and then like we've got most of the tools we need to kind of start creating like entire setups from scratch. Okay, so the first thing we type is rig create. So I'll zoom in. Remember my zooming in. Okay, rig create, and then press enter. Okay, just to recap this quickly. So this is bottom left-hand pane. This is where we put in the commands, the bel canto commands. Down in the right here, it comes up with the feedback. So I've typed rig create and I've hit enter, and it says rig create. Okay, if that came up red, it means I've done something wrong, and it will try and give you some kind of error message to tell you why it's wrong. And then up the top here, we've got all the bel canto words in the dictionary. So these are all the words that you can use when typing in your commands at the top there. Okay, so rig create. So I now have this empty new rig in my system, and first thing we need to do is give it a name. We've looked at naming things before a few times. If you remember, the last thing you create within Eigenharp, the very last thing you create is referred to as it until you create something else. So rig create, I can then say it. So I'm referring to that rig I've just created. Type it, then it to whatever name I want to give it. So I'm going to make a new audio unit rig. There's already 4 audio unit rigs inside my factory setup 1 that I've got loaded. So I'm just going to say it to audio unit rig 5, nameify. And then, yeah, so the last bit is nameify, 2 words, like so. Just check down here that it says OK. So it does it to audio unit rig 5, nameify, OK. And now, now inside my system, I've got something called audio unit rig 5. To test that, I can just type in audio unit rig 5 hey. Hit enter, and this is a good way to check that everything's working okay. And basically, if there wasn't something called audio unit rig 5, that would say something like bad noun or something similar, useful like that. But it says okay, so that's all good. And then the next thing I want to do is create the agents that I need to build up my audio unit rig, and there's actually only 3 that I need. So first of all is a recorder, so I say recorder create, and the recorder is the agent inside. In fact, every instrument within the factory setups has a recorder agent inside it, and that's the bit that's responsible for recording the loops as you're playing. And that's the first thing in the chain, so the key groups connect directly to the recorder. And then we also need a scaler, as I mentioned before. So recorder create, first we've done that. Now I need to add that to the audio unit rig 5 rig. So recorder create, you remember that the last thing created is called it. So I want to add that to audio unit rig 5. So I say audio unit rig 5 hey, and then I say it add. And it is referring to that recorder I've just created, and add is I'm adding it to the rig. So audio unit rig 5 hey, it add. We look down here, check it's all okay. It is. Okay, and then I just create a scaler. So I need a scaler create. Again, to add that to the rig, I say audio unit rig 5 hey, and then it add again. So the recorder is no longer being referred to as it is now the scaler, as that's the last thing I created. And then the last thing I need is the actual audio unit. So I say, the agent that you load the audio unit or VST plugins into is called an audio unit agent. So I say audio unit create, hit enter, and then audio unit rig 5 hey, it add. So now inside my audio unit rig 5 rig, I now have a recorder, a scaler, and an audio unit agent. And I've got no idea what the numbers, the actual name of those agents we've just created are, but I can now refer to them as, so for example, the scaler, that could be scaler, I don't know what the number is, it could be like scaler 22 or something, but now I can refer to that as audio unit rig 5 scaler. So this is kind of a useful way of not having to know all the names of all the agents in your head all the time. So audio unit, so yeah, so there's that. And okay, so the first step is to connect the key groups to the recorder. So I've got factory setup 1 loaded here, so really I've only got key group 1 here to play with. So I'm going to create a new output on key group 1 and connect that to my new recorder, which is inside audio unit rig 5. Okay, so I need to find an empty spot on here. I'm going to do it just down here in the grid. So we've got this kind of normal grid of outputs, which is kind of the 4x5 grid that you find on every key group when you press the Mo key. There's a few spare keys here, and I'm going to use one of them for my new audio unit rig. I'm actually going to use. I'll show you. Go up close. So there's the thing. I'm just going to use that one there, I reckon. So that is, if you imagine, if I was just actually no, that's the easiest way is just to point. Okay. Ignore me. Okay, so I need to create that new output. So we've covered this before in the kind of key group bel canto seminar. So what I need to say is K group 1, hey. So that is K group 1. Obviously, if I had more splits, if I was using factory alpha 2 or 3, or if I was using the tau setup, for example, there's a lot more key groups. So I could do this with any of the key groups. K group 1, hey, and then I'm going to do output. I need to figure out which key I want the output on. So if you go back, we click back to the organ. So how we figure out numbers on the key groups is it's actually the order in which the key group keys were chosen in the first place, but in the factory setups it always starts from the top left up here, and you count the numbers down, so 1, 2, up to, well, if I press the Mo key, you can see that the keys that flash up, these bottom 2 rows don't flash when I hit the Mo key, because they're not actually involved in the key group. The key group only goes up to the 22nd row. So, so how I would count the keys for key group 1 is I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 22, because the bottom 2 rows aren't in key group 1. And you can tell that by when you hit the Mo key, all the keys in key group 1 flash. So you go down to 22 here, and then you start counting again on the top of the next chord. So that's 23, up to 44, 45, up to 66, and so on. So the key I need to use happens to be key, well, I'll do it on key 44, so the bottom of course 2 on key group 1. So I say K group 1, hey, back to here, and then I say output 44, create. Hit enter. And then, don't mind going back to the...
Yeah, sorry. So you need to do this in each key group that A5 could be chosen in?
Yeah, exactly. So okay. Can you take it off there?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, no, that's right. So every key group you want to be able to access from, every key group that you want to access this new instrument rig, you're going to need to create a new output on every one of those key groups. So you can see there that I've set output 44, and hopefully you can see there's a new light there that I can choose. That one there. So that's output 44. Now there is something weird about this. I said at the beginning there's a couple of tricky little things that we have to deal with, and these are things that are kind of left over historically that I'm sure will get ironed out with future releases of Eigenharp. But you'll notice now. So I've got that one selected green. If I choose, for example, if I choose the piano, and then I choose this, or if I choose that one, and then so if I choose the piano and then choose this key, you'll notice that the piano one is still lit orange. Hopefully you can see that. This is kind of weird because I'll come back to this later. I won't explain it in full detail now, but I'd make sure we explain it before we finish the seminar. But there's actually, every key group inside the factory setups, there's actually 2 key groups layered on top of each other. So it makes things a little bit trickier. One of those key groups is for the talkers, and one of the key groups is for playing. So key group 1 actually has a key group called talker key group 1 layered on top of it, and key group 2 has talker key group 2. And it's a bit of a pain, but like it was the choice of teaching you how to do this and just getting on with it, or just not doing it. So